On a day when heavy rain stole the action in Stage 2 of the Amgen Tour of California, the hard riding of Team Radio Shack helped play an ace card in favour of three-time champion Levi Leipheimer. He was part of a bedraggled small group led home by Australian Brett Lancaster, who with the stage win did enough to become the new leader overall. As today, the race heads away from San Francisco. And what a staging prospect as it crosses Bonny Doon, where a year ago Leipheimer laid the foundation to his victory. It's the Amgen Tour of California with Stage 3. Next on Versus. Yes, the barometer has been stabilised. The sun has come back to the Amgen Tour of California for day 3. This is the view the riders see from the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco as they're heading south now to Santa Cruz, 130 miles. We're going to see the sun today. These are the beautiful beaches down on the Pacific, and this is the surf centre of the United States. That's the view awaiting the riders as they come towards us now. This is going to be a return to the racing we expect in the Amgen Tour of California. Hi everybody, welcome back to our live coverage today. Phil Liggett with me, of course, Paul Sherwin. Yesterday, Paul, the rain stopped us seeing a wonderful race.
Well, it certainly did. It's a pity about the rain, but out on the course there was a massive battle and a big setup, I think, because everybody wanted to do one thing yesterday, and that was get rid of Fabian Cancellara.
That worked.
For Team Radio Shack, job done.
Let's have a look then. Let's remind ourselves of the pictures we couldn't see because this was yesterday. At the start, it was Paul Mack waving to his hometown in Davis as leader in the Californian Tourism King of the Mountains with Mark Cavendish there. At the start, there was no hint of what was just around the corner. The rides moving away on dry roads here.
Well, dry roads to begin with, but once the riders started to get towards the Napa Valley and, of course, Sonoma County, the clouds came down very heavily and bathed the riders in rain on this occasion.
That's right. There were 4 climbs along the route. 5 riders were clear. The man getting most out of it was Thomas Rabot on Team Type 1. He won every climb and is the next leader of the King of the Mountains. And look at this for our electric performance of the day, presented by Nissan Leaf, because this was Lance Armstrong and Levi Leipheimer's Radio Shack boys driving the team up to the breakaway and splitting the bunch to pieces. And one man left behind by 15 minutes was none other than Fabian Cancellara. Into the last kilometre, 27 riders being led home by the only Cervelo rider in the break, Brett Lancaster.
Well, Brett Lancaster, a man who's had an Olympic gold medal and been a world champion on the track on this occasion, leapt out of the pack with a very controlled sprint to take himself the victory into Santa Rosa, Phil, but also the new Amgen overall lead.
So Brett Lancaster hasn't won a road race in 2004. Leipheimer and Armstrong were in the group. Job done for Radio Shack. They hurt a lot of riders. Not this man, though, and he might be difficult to be dislodged. So let's have a look at our Home Depot overall standings after 2 days of racing and 8 3/4 hours. Lancaster leads by 4 seconds over Sensation Peter Sagan. Carl Menzi in the break yesterday is 3rd. Lars Boom says he wants a stage win 4th. Thomas Rabou in 5th and the King of the Mountains. Mark DeMar 6th. Paul Mack rode well again. He's still in 7th place. Michael Rogers a big danger in 8th. Ryder Hesjedal completing there the top 10. There is still, though, amongst those top 26 riders, just a handful of seconds separating them from the next wearer of the Amgen Tour of California yellow jersey. The route's a good one, isn't it, Paul, today?
A very testing course for the riders once again, because, Phil, once they leave the Golden Gate Bridge behind them as a shadow, they move down the coast to begin with. The 2 incursions inland are extremely, I would have to say in my language, lumpy. Very testing for the riders. As we have a look at the race profile, you get an idea just to have a look just exactly how difficult it's going to be. The first little incursion gives the riders those 3 little lumps, and that, I think, is going to make the race quite tough. Then a flat ride alongside the Pacific coastline, but Bonny Doon at the end is an extremely important climb.
Yes, Bonny Doon near the end there. Let's have a look now. Rabobank checking the stats. There are 2 sprints very early on. Only 3 riders abandoned the race so far. They've come on 2 teams, so 14 teams still have their 8 men. And last year, by the way, Thomas Peterson, who's in the race this year, was a big surprising winner. Leipheimer is just behind him. Well, this has been an extraordinary race. Now, on this day last year, Leipheimer was hunting to break up the field as one man, and he managed to do this on where? Bonny Doon, the climb that comes near the end today. Take a look at this.
Well, it was all perfectly well set up. There was a breakaway on this occasion last year up the road, but Levi Leipheimer had laid down the foundations for an attack. Coming through the mist, coming through the rain, he rode away on Bonny Doon faster than anybody. He didn't win the stage fill at the end of the day, but he did get the overall lead.
He did indeed, by just on half a minute. These are the contenders at the moment. Michael Rogers, note the gap on the right. They're only 10 seconds behind the leader, Lancaster. Rogers, Leipheimer, David Zabriskie, Lance Armstrong, Andy Schleck. They're all in that leading group yesterday. The loser, Fabian Cancellara, finished 83rd, 15 minutes and 12 seconds. The Home Depot boys there are standing proud with that 10-second gap. So let's take a look at earlier today before we go to those live pictures. The riders moving down south to Santa Rosa over the Golden Gate Bridge to the start here. The Herbalife sign-in here for all of the riders. Armstrong as popular as ever. And there's all the signatures for you. Only 3 missing off of the field that started a couple of days ago. That's all we've lost so far, despite the downpour yesterday. Armstrong just loves being a bike rider, doesn't he? All smiles here as the riders get together for the start. Mark Cavendish rides in the green Herbalife Sprint Leaders jersey at the moment. Mack was the leader there. It's now Thomas Rabu who's got the new lead in the California Travel Tourism King of the Mountains. Leipheimer dreaming there perhaps of what might be by the end of the day. Who knows? But look at that. The pavement's dry. There's a nice wind blowing in off the Pacific Ocean. But the riders looking forward to their journey through the hills. And it didn't take long before there was a breakaway clear. Andy Jacquemains, Eric Boyer, Will Routley, David Fettini, Ryan Anderson. Oh, and a bit of a tight one as he got around the corner there. That was Andy Jacquemains, who just about scraped the roadside, but he's okay. Building a lead at just on 3.5 minutes. The men doing the chasing. No surprises here, I don't think. Radio Shack. They don't want that breakaway to get too far ahead. Are they building up for a day when Leipheimer just might springboard again on Bonny Doon? Well, this is a beautiful shot here, just creeping over the Golden Gate Bridge. Don't forget, these pictures are available now in high definition, and that's the way to watch sport like cycling now, with the beauty of this event as well. The V Australia weather forecast today, sunny. Let's stay with that. 65 degrees and a 10 miles per hour west-southwest wind, so it's coming in off the Pacific. First sprint of the day at the Herbalife Sprint at Pacifica was Mark Cavendish. Flexed his legs, gets the 5 points. Bernard Eisel, his teammate, who led him out second, and Paul Martins completing the top 3 there. The second sprint at Half Moon Bay, Carl Menzies in that breakaway yesterday, still feeling good, came over the top of Christoph and Mark Cavendish, can you believe, pushing Mark back into 3rd place at the sprint point at the wonderfully named Half Moon Bay. Can you beat that picture, folks? It's wonderful. Back to the race now. Here they are, the 5 leaders. The Jelly Belly team have got their man Will Routley up here, and the best place rider in the breakaway is Ryan Anderson of Kelly Benefits. He's the current leader of this race now on the road. So the action now, Paul, and Ryan Anderson is the current leader, virtual as we always say on the road. He's regained all of his lost time, 1 minute and 27 seconds. He had a nice 4th place in the Tour of Uruguay this year, so the Kelly Benefits boys having a very good early season. And at the moment, holding on the gap. It's been good steady pace making by Armstrong and Leipheimer's squad, Radio Shack. But frankly, they're holding but not gaining. 3 minutes 20 seems to be locked in just at the minute. And this is proving to be now a very interesting bike race. Yesterday, yes, there was some miserable conditions out there, but quite clearly Radio Shack had decided yesterday was the day to just lay a few nails in the coffins of 1 or 2 riders.
Well, it was definitely a plan, Phil. They realised that they had to get time between themselves and Fabian Cancellara. We all saw how good Cancellara was in the early part of the season. The riders have got over the first 3 climbs of the day, and very shortly they'll be down by the Pacific Ocean once again, riding along the flat for around about 50 kilometres before we get to that final climb of the day, the climb of Bonny Doon. And it really is a bit of a humdinger, 14% at some parts, a very steep climb, but I think maybe a little bit too far from the finish to be all that decisive.
Well, we're looking here at the team up in the front. This rider here is Andy Jacques-Main. I think his brother Ben, his twin brother Ben, yesterday had a very lucky escape. He slipped off the road down the edge of a cliff in the pouring rain, but he climbed back and he got on his bike. He was fine. So as the riders continue here, just looking around. And it looks as though the boys are now. This, I think, is just a natural break. Don't panic, folks. It's a good time for us, I think, to take a break and avoid the blushes. No, it's a bike change, in fact. This is an interesting. This is a bike change for Lance Armstrong, who's just been doing all the work. No panic yet. Just keeping an eye on where the cars are. Don't take too long, though, guys. We haven't got all day here. Right. And note, his bottle's taken with him. A bike change, obviously a problem. He's got a new bike. And he's got himself a little bit of a chase here because that took a longer time than one would have expected. You remember the bike change that Fabien Cancellara got in the Tour of Flanders? It took 8.5 seconds and he went on to win that race. But he's kept a teammate here to wait for him. And in fact, that looks like Dmitry Muryev, who's been chosen to try and guide Lance Armstrong back up to the peloton. Oh, no, it's not. It is, in fact, his old favourite mate, Jaroslav Popovic there, who's going to pace him back up. We'll take a break, rejoin us. He'll be back in the bunch. And don't forget, Saturday is Indy 500 pole day, and Versus has the exclusive coverage of the time trials for racing's greatest spectacle. Helio Castroneves looks to position himself for his 4th Indy 500 victory. The road to the Indianapolis 500 starts here, and that's the time trials pole day Saturday morning at 11 Eastern here on Versus. So enjoy that. All the action right now, though, is being done by a man who is not in pole position just at the moment, Lance Armstrong. We've seen him take a bike change. Rubiera, his teammate, has come back for him. So too is Jaroslav Popovic. And they're making steady progress through the field here. Time out for some of the riders. They've taken a little trip into the bushes on the left of the road, so that's a good sign that the main field, without the impetus of the moment of Radio Shack, have slowed down a little bit, because that breakaway of 5 has gone up to 3.5 minutes. And here they are, just sat at the back. There's Eric Boyi of the Spider Tech team, the team run by Steve Bow with big ambitions from Canada, and they're having a good tour so far. Well, looking down through the trees here, we've come through the big forest of the giant redwood trees before we came on air today, and that can't be helped. We might see a few more as we climb up Bonny Doon. We know a lot of the cyclists in this area have climbed Bonny Doon today to watch the riders come over with bated breath, I would think, because they are convinced that Levi Leipheimer is going to try and do the double like he did last year and get away. It's quite a tortuous finish today, Paul, because they come into Santa Cruz on a lovely beach road, but they're going to get about a 3-mile straight of tailwind. But then they've got to come over tram tracks in the town, which has been covered in tape and filled with tar. And then they've got a very sharp left-hand turn to the finish, about 200 meters before the line. So they're not expecting the whole field to come in together.
No, they're not. I think we're expecting a big battle on the final climb of the day, Bonny Doon. It's interesting to see that it's the American teams that have gone out on the attack here this afternoon, Phil, because they've had some success out of the race so far. They realise it's getting into these breakaways that gives them the chance of early success, going for some of the other intermediary competitions like the points competition, the King of the Mountains competition. For them, it's extremely important to try and show off their sponsors, especially against some of the top teams in the world.
Well, just seeing the guy in the front there, João Carreira from Portugal for Cervelo at the moment. He's quite an interesting story, Paul. He was a bit of a journalist on Bicycling Magazine, I think it was. And he came back into cycling not very long ago, and he's got onto the top team. And oh, there's been a crash here, right in the centre of the bunch. And that's a Saxo Bank guy who's down. It's Andre Steensen, the man I was telling you about earlier, who is second overall in the Best Young Rider competition. And he's a bit stunned here. That's caught him off guard. He was not expecting to fall at that point.
Well, he's got you look at the front of his jacket there, he's got all the bottles. He'd actually gone back to the team car to take on board as many bottles as possible for the team, and obviously hurt him quite a bit there. He was trying to get himself back through the main field.
Ouch. I think it's a collarbone here, and that is very, very sad. Yes, he's playing the domestique. He's carrying all the bottles, as you can see. He might well have been distributing one of those bottles at the time he's fallen. He's made a mistake, maybe touched the wheel of another rider. He's paid the price, unfortunately, there. Well, Tom Bonan, he didn't fall. He's all smiles today.
But he did fall on the first day, and a lot of people were saying, how is Tom Bonan? Because he was ripped to shreds in that crash in the city of Sacramento. But obviously, he's a massive talent, this bike rider. He's been the world champion. He's currently the Belgian champion. He knows exactly how to get himself back into form. But that was a pretty dramatic crash, Phil, I have to say, just a few moments ago when that young rider went down, and it was right in the middle of the pack. He was distributing bottles, probably to riders like Fabian Cancellara, which was what his job was. And hopefully, in a little while, we get some information as to whether or not he's back in the pack.
He's tired, but well, he's got the chance to. He chased hard yesterday, but then he gave up. He realised he'd missed the move. They did say he was ill when he started day one. He said he felt a bit better, but obviously wasn't too good yesterday, losing 15 minutes, so his job's clear-cut now. Now, this is not a good sight, Paul. I thought he was going to just cruise back up to the leaders. It's not happening at the moment. He's not going to be too pleased with that, although he doesn't look as though he's too worried.
It doesn't look like a man who's worried at all for me. I think he's just taking his time. You know, he's a seasoned professional. The gap to the yellow jersey group is starting to stretch out a little bit now, and we're down to around about 4 minutes, and I think that's because they've turned off the pressure at the front end of the main field, waiting for Armstrong to get back into the pack.
Well, the pack was disrupted by that crash to Steenson, but it's gone up while Lance has been off the back of this race. Because Radio Shack has stopped chasing, that breakaway has added 40 seconds to its advantage. It's the first time we've been over 4 minutes. And 73 kilometres to go. Still plenty of time to put matters to rights, but nonetheless, it wasn't a good bike change. It was too slow. As I said earlier, it took Fabian Cancellara in the Tour of Flanders 8.5 seconds to get his bike changed. This one, I'm afraid, was about 45 to 50 seconds. So it wasn't a great bike change.
It was fairly slow, but you noticed that Armstrong didn't panic at all when he was changing his machine, and that's the most important thing to do when you are a bike rider, is don't panic, because when you panic, it passes panic onto the mechanic, and the mechanic then starts to make mistakes. Yep. Armstrong here with Chechu Ribiera, then just in front of him, Jaroslav Popovic. He's not panicking at all now. He's making his way slowly but surely through the convoy of cars, and you can see there the back end of the main field there. They're only just around the corner.
Just passing the SRAM neutral support car there. They're in charge of all of this. That's the second SRAM car they've gone past. So progress now. They know when they get this far up and they see that second car. And this one is accompanying. This is Radio Shack following their man through to make sure he doesn't have another problem. He's nearly back. There's the boys at the front trying to back it off. The result is that breakaway is still gaining, now 4:10. We are in idyllic racing country now. This is absolutely superb bike racing country. Narrowish roads like English country lanes, to be quite honest. Even when the roads are open to other traffic, there's not a lot of traffic around here. These are the training roads of many of the top bike riders of the United States throughout the summer months. 45 miles, and 4:10 is the latest time get now for these 5 riders. Still working well together, and a little bit of a bonus for them. They've added about 40 seconds since Armstrong had his problems, so a lack of attention for the moment. Well, we'll take another break. There's still plenty of action to come here as we get closer to Bonny Doon. Lance will be back in just a few moments. Welcome back. Well, that's our ADT jersey update. We're back with the Tour de California. These are the wearers of the jersey, at least the owners of them, because Brett Lancaster, who won yesterday, has got the Amgen yellow. He's also entitled to the Herbalife points on the right there, the green, but that's worn by Mark Cavendish today. Rabu had a great ride yesterday to take the lead in the King of the Mountains. He's also got the Courageous Breakaway from Crancer Award, and Sagan is the Rabobank Best Run Rider. Well, Rabu was the star of yesterday, winning all of the climbs. He's on Team Type 1. So let's learn a little bit more now about this All-American team.
Team Type 1 has absolutely revolutionized what is possible with diabetes.
Well, the whole goal of Team Type 1 is to kind of debunk the myth that you're limited if you have any type of diabetes.
It's giving kids a chance to really begin to dream big. We not only provide hope and inspiration to the kids the adults with diabetes, but we really give hope to the parents.
The goal is to show that you can do anything that a person without diabetes can do.
Team Type 1, we have Javier, that is also a rider with diabetes. He's our leader because he has a good experience. He was in a Pro Tour team last year, and he's a good climber too.
Ver en mí como que se puede ganar en bicicleta teniendo diabetes y que no es una complicación tener diabetes para correr en bicicleta y poder estar con la gente, con los primeros en la bicicleta, poder recorrer las mejores pruebas. Y yo creo que aún teniendo diabetes, pues no es ninguna barrera, todo se puede teniendo diabetes.
10 years ago, if you were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, they would tell you you can't ride a bike, you can't exercise, and the technology has evolved a lot over the past few years, and to where you can.
Other teams are here to win. We're here to win as well, but we aren't just representing some sponsor. We're representing a mission. When we do well, it's more than just showing that we can win a bike race. It's actually inspiring people.
Pues demostrar lo que he dicho antes, que se puede ganar con diabetes. Yo lo voy a intentar. Estoy bien entrenado. Creo que.
A lot of people with diabetes are told that they can't do things, and obviously the riders on our team are proving that wrong.
Yes, a team which is an inspiration to everybody who suffers from diabetes. They're all very much still in this race, and we've got the 5th place of Thomas Rabu right up there, also in the leader of the King of the Mountains. And every day they've had a man in the breakaway, and no exception today because they have David Frattini, the Italian, in the squad. Lance is back. He's not just back, but he's powered his way up to the front of the peloton here to rejoin his mates. And now we might see that gap. It's gone out to 4.5 minutes in the absence of Armstrong, while the team have tried to wait for him, which is a climb of a minute. So now they're going to have to start working again. Well, Team Type 1, Paul, the boys that are Team Type 1 diabetes, but what a credit they are that they give everybody who suffers from that terrible infection that they can still have a full life as a sports person.
Yeah, well, they can, and it's a question of managing diet and managing sugar intake, and these guys do an incredible job to show that a number of them who are diabetics themselves can actually participate in what is a very difficult sport. It's one of the toughest sports in the world, and these guys are there to get that message out, very much like Lance Armstrong is trying to get the message out in the fight against cancer on a global level. These guys are doing exactly the same thing for diabetes, and diabetes is in fact a disease which is actually rapidly growing in the developing world, in places like India and Africa, where people have changed their diets in the last number of years very dramatically. Now all of a sudden it's becoming a major problem.
Well, there's the leaders at the moment, and they've got a man in the breakaway again, Frattini, the Italian member of TT1. It's a team we've commentated on around the world, particularly in the races like the Tour of Ireland as well, where they've always had exceptional success. Talking of success, Paul, this rider here, which is Erica Boyle of Spidertech, the Canadian team with ambitions, and what ambitions. They want this squad to be in the Tour de France in a couple of years. It's the only Canadian UCI Continental squad in existence, and they too have made sure we've known that they've been in the Amgen Tour of California this year. Let's see, 41 miles are still to ride to the finish here, and Cervelo looking after their man in the Amgen yellow jersey today, Brett Lancaster, looking after him well. 86, the Maillot Jaune of the Amgen Tour of California, which today Stage 3 is brought to you by Home Depot. We're on our way from San Francisco down now to Santa Cruz. Brett Lancaster is the man in the yellow jersey. And as we get up towards the front end, there's the distance today, 113 miles. It's quite a long ride today, as these are the leaders now. Well, so many people do say to me, why do these guys break away and get wiped out by the finish? It's not always the case, believe me. And perhaps it's time to explain that a little bit more, because some days they do succeed. So let's go inside the peloton, presented by MBT.
Cycling stage wins are often reserved for sprinters, climbers and time trialists. But what about the rest of the peloton? Their only option is getting into a breakaway and crossing their fingers that they won't get caught. The benefits of getting into this select group include television exposure, a lessened workload for your teammates, and the chance to bring home a coveted stage win. But the chances of a breakaway succeeding are small, and to make it to the finish intact, the riders need to work together and take equal turns pulling at the front.
When it does go, and you do happen to be the lucky few in the breakaway, a lot of times it's very controlled.
If there's a guy on the GC and the bracket won't go away, the big teams will pull it back. Generally, the guys that aren't on general classifications get away and they stay away in the breakaway.
You always have the odds of pulling it off and winning, and it's very important that everyone commits 100%.
When a breakaway does manage to succeed, the riders must gamble on their best chance to attack and win. Whoever has the energy left over makes their move at the right moment. They might just bring home a very impressive stage win.
That's our MBT inside the peloton, and I have to say you admire the attacking rider even if he doesn't win. There's the man who's got all the courage of a big-time bike rider. Now, since Lance Armstrong got back into the bunch here, the gap has started to reverse again. 4:30's come back now to 4 minutes 10 seconds. Not too sure why the Maillot Jaune of the Amgen Tour de California is sitting at the back here, Paul. Brett Lancaster. And there's the long line. That breakaway, though, has lost 20 seconds of its lead since Lance Armstrong's team got back up to the front. I think they ideally want to get possibly within about 20 seconds of it on Bonny Doon, and then see if they can send Leipheimer out on his own. What do you think?
Well, I think that's exactly what Leipheimer will be doing, but I'll tell you one thing I have noticed over the last couple of chances I've got to see Lancaster, to see Leipheimer, that in fact Dave Zabriskie has been riding very close to him. Zabriskie, I think, has got ambitions to try and win the bike race this year. He's got a great ability against the croc. He's the American national time trial champion, and if he can stay in contact with the leaders on these mountainous, hilly stages, he's got a very good chance of creating the surprise this year.
Well, there's the beauty of the forest here, and these are the fir trees here. We've also got some great redwood trees reaching out to the sky all around this area. This is beautiful racing country, always changing direction, ducking and diving. It's a racing cyclist delight at the moment. And look how fast this gap is coming down again now, 3:55. It was about 3:20 when Armstrong had his bike changed. It went up to 4:30. Now they're already sliced it back to inside 4. 61 kilometres to go. Now we go over the top of Bonny Doon. It's 182 kilometres all up today. We go over the top of Bonny Doon at 158 kilometres, so 24 kilometres from the finish. So they need to be up there in the next 35 kilometres, I reckon. They've got plenty of time on their side just now.
They certainly do, but you can see the difference now, the concentration of this chase. Last year there was a breakaway, was up the front on this stage as well, and I don't think they want to have that same situation. They don't want to have a big gap once they got to Bonny Doon, because I think we're looking at seeing a little bit of a sort out once again, as we had yesterday. Yesterday we didn't have the chance to witness that because of the bad weather conditions, the fact they couldn't get the fixed-winged aeroplane up into the air. Today I think we will witness blow for blow the attacks that are going to come on Bonny Doon. And I wonder if Armstrong changed his bike so that he was going to have a special machine once he comes to that climb as well.
That's a good question. It's 3:50 still continuing to drop down here. Those are the 4 leaders' jerseys you see passing through our screen. They're all in the peloton at the moment. Now look at the beauty here. Just before we came on air, Paul Sherwin and I had the pleasure of watching the pelicans going fishing. They go about 50 feet in the air, close all the wings and drop in like a dart and grab the fish, and then sit on the water and eat the fish. The fish wasn't too impressed, mind you. But there we are. We'll take another break. We're going to stay on the Pacific Ocean seaboard for quite a while today. We're back with the Amgen Tour de California here, presented today by Home Depot. And look, you can't beat this beauty, can you? We could be down on the Mediterranean, of course, in the Tour de France, but we're not. We're on the Pacific coast here in the Amgen Tour of California. But our pictures, by the way, are being brought to you by our Tour de France cameramen. The bikes and everything shipped over here to the United States to do the same job that they do on the Tour de France. And actually walking around the television compound here is rather like being on the Tour de France, because everybody's talking in French as they're getting their first feeling of the Tour of California. Beautiful pictures today. So just looking down there as those rollers are crashing in off the Pacific. Next stop Australia if you keep going. And the Antipodes, the riders themselves, Well, it's been a good race. We've only had 2 days. I must confess it seems like I've been racing for a week because there's been a lot of action on these 2 days of racing. This is day 3. And just looking down at the overall standings, you know, people like Paul Mock, who was in Davis, California, where we started yesterday. He still finished in that lead group yesterday and has a very high position for one of the young riders on the American squad. He's been a cyclist for a couple of years as well. Still some tough roads ahead, though. This is the breakaway. Andy Jacques Maines from Bissell. Eric Boyer is and Ryan Anderson of Kelly Benefits. They've had a good run for the money today, and so far they've cleaned up with every prize comes towards the end. And today is it's a hard word to say that, Paul. Strategically placed as the riders go downhill and then right in on a very difficult approach into Santa Cruz. So they will go on that climb. Believe me, it is only a second category. Now, the higher the category, or the lower the category, the steeper the climb. First category is the highest. That'll come later when we get up to Big Bear Lake in this race. But it's a very good springboard today. Armstrong's having a busy day out, isn't he? Certainly down this peloton like a rabbit.
He's certainly up and down the main field, but I think there's a lot of organisation starting to creep in now, Phil. You've got a lot of orange and blue jerseys of Team Rabobank as well, who are very attentive, and Lars Boom has said that he is itching to get himself a stage victory. Why not George Hincapie too? Stars and stripes there, or should I say Captain America, one of the most respected bike riders in the field. If he can get himself over the climb, let's not forget in the early part of his career, George was a very good bunch sprinter.
He was indeed, and there was reports that he had crashed yesterday with a lot of rides, but in fact George himself said he didn't fall yesterday, but he did fall on day 1 in that run into the finish where Tom Boner had a bad crash, and George did stun himself a little bit. He landed on his head, I think, so he wasn't too happy yesterday, and he didn't make the big split up at the front end of the race towards the end, but he'll get better again now. 3 minutes 10 seconds. This is a very manageable gap just for the minute. 56 kilometres still to race, about 43 miles still to go down. The beautiful blue waters here of the Pacific. Interesting course today. 1 minute we're up in the mountains and through the redwood forest. Next minute we're down on the coastline. Then we swing back up in the mountains. The last time will come when we head up towards Bonny Doon. Then we'll plunge off Bonny Doon, racing down to Santa Cruz itself. California's got to be one of the most famous states of the United States. All the famous places seem to be that we see on the films, all down this coastline. Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, Santa Cruz, Hollywood. We've just come out of San Francisco, Santa Rosa yesterday. And the people here really do support this race. The crowds have been terrific.
Well, I'm just looking at the number of red and brown, grey jerseys at the front there. That's Radio Shack getting themselves very well organised. And you see basically now the main field is lined up one by one in a long line down the road here as we go down Highway 1. And that's an indication the pressure is seriously on from these bike riders. They want to pull them back before the start of Bonny Doon.
Well, just looking at the Bonny Doon profile, the riders won't have the privilege of this. It actually is a 7 mile climb, I think it is. So that makes it a 12-kilometre climb. It goes steady, has a couple of nasty kicks in it. It goes up to around about 1,700 feet by the time they top out and then begin their journey down. So it is more or less the highest they've been on the day. It was on a par with Tunitas Creek, the first climb of the day, but it's a little bit harder, I think, than Tunitas Creek. Here's a little look at the bottles being collected here. Well, this is a rider from Leaky Gas. This is Manuel Quinziata, one of the top riders on the team, doing his job. Now, Steenson did this job and promptly fell off earlier. I'm not too sure. I think he's out of the race, but we've had no report on that. Anyways, the riders continue to set course now for Bonny Doon. It could be doomsday for a few of these guys, but we're not there yet. We'll take a bet. 100% electric Nissan Leaf presents Lance on mental strategy.
That's always been a big question of mine, sort of this mental aspect versus the physical one. And I guess when I was younger, I always thought, no, it's all physical and it's all about the legs and the heart and the lungs, and the mind just comes along after. And then as I got older, I realized that while the physical part is incredibly important, the mind is the one that wakes up every day and says to the physical part, here's what we're going to do today, and here's how we're going to do it. I've been blessed because every day I get up and I want to do what I do. been a long time since I woke up and said, I don't want to go for a bike ride. I mean, that's just kind of something I enjoy. Never a bad day in the office for me when it comes to that.
The official car of Lance and Team Radio Shack, Nissan Leaf, the new car. Yes, now there's one man who's triumphed over adversity in every shape or form. It's certainly Lance Armstrong. Had a busy day today, though. He's been up and down this peloton. He's had a bike change, but he's told his team now, and he's here. He's admitted he's here to help Levi Leipheimer win this race for the 4th year in a row. And they're driving now as we scorch up the side of the Pacific Ocean here on this beautiful road. This is not a highway. This is just a lovely road to ride along. As far as you can see, Paul, there's just a road plucked into the side of the mountain, and down there is the field as they're chasing 5 men now. The gap is at 2.5 minutes, 2:25, 51 kilometres, so we are about 24 kilometres from this climb at Bonny Doon.
I tell you what, it's tumbling a lot faster than our computer can keep up with it, because Race Radio Phil just crackled through with 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And there's another little bit of fun. This is a magnificent day today, and there you can get a chance to see why this is such one of the most beautiful and well-visited coastlines in the world.
Well, if we get out there, we can just pop over to Hawaii. I think it's only about 2,500 miles inland into the ocean, into the Pacific Ocean. And this is a very deep ocean, believe me. Out there, even around Hawaii, it's something like 14,000 feet deep. It's an amazing ocean. As the next up after Hawaii, then a couple of the odd islands before you strike shore in Sydney, Australia. Well, we're looking now at 51 kilometres to go as the water creeps up and hits the coast of the United States and recedes a bit. We're now looking whether these boys can be brought back into the fold. I think they will be. I think, in fact, there's no doubt they will be the way this chase is on. But somebody is going to ignite the whole touch paper when they get onto this climb.
Well, Phil, I've got to tell you, we've just left San Mateo County behind us. We're just entering into Santa Cruz County, and this, I have to say, is one of the biggest. This is one of the biggest surfing areas of the whole world, and really, you can see just why it's so magnificent. But I wonder why they put a road down the side of the mountain like this. I tell you what, though, it makes a great background for a bike race.
Well, the Pacific Coast Highway is, as any American will tell you, one of the most beautiful roads in the world. And who can argue with them? We're getting the bird's eye view today. Steady progress by the riders in the Amgen Tour of California, which is a veritable picture book race for the state. It is the jewel in the crown, after all. And thanks to the gold rush days of over 200 years ago, all of these towns popped up along the coastline. Now, there's somebody enjoying the leisure. He's got a great view of the race, but I don't think he's too bothered as we get down the coast here. These 5 riders getting away after 35 miles, just around 48 kilometres, a bit more maybe. And the gap now at 50 kilometres to 50 kilometres to go. That's 31 miles from the finish, is 1 minute and 45 seconds. These 5 boys here at the front, still all working together on rival teams, but the common enemy is the bunch, and in particular Radio Shack today. Oh, sorry boys, but they're coming back. We'll take a break. See you in a moment. Welcome back to the Amgen Tour of California, today presented by Home Depot. This is the view from the skies, presented by V Australia, and you can't beat that, can you, as the Pacific rolls in. There's all the team cars behind the peloton. The peloton is top left of our picture, and the peloton is absolutely flying over the Pacific Highway. Look at this. Nobody's talking now. This is round shoulders and a job on here, and the gap is now down to just on 1 minute on those leading 5 riders, with something like 30 miles or 47 kilometres still to run. The face will tell it all. These are the guys on Radio Shack. What they're trying to do is to deliver Levi Leipheimer down the road onto the climb of Bonny Doon, and hope that Leipheimer will repeat last year, jump away and finish second on the stage and take the overall lead by 24 seconds. That's the plan. It's easy, isn't it? Inside a minute now. We're in down to 55 seconds now. The catch is not going to be very much longer here. The road is going to get pretty tough in a minute as it starts to climb steadily for quite a few kilometres to the top of Bonny Doon. And once over the top, it's really repair any damage that's happened on the climb. Or if you're in the lead, go for gold down in Santa Cruz, because it's not that far to the finish.
No, it certainly isn't. 24 kilometers from the top of the climb. It's a good way for a group of riders to succeed, but I can't see a lone rider holding off the main field or a large group on the running down towards the end, because it's not exactly a steep descent down into the outskirts of Santa Cruz. But I do, in my gut, feel that Levi Leipheimer is going to try and do what he did last year, but he'll have a lot of riders queuing up to go with him.
Well, that'll make it interesting just to see which boys are up to his strength at this time of the year, because in February Leipheimer came out with big early season form to win this race, when the other boys are thinking, hang on, we don't want to be this fit in February because the Tour de France, Tour of Italy is coming. And this looks as though our jelly belly friend is going away here, Will Routley, putting in a little move, and he decided the breakaway is slowing down. So this time, at this time of the year, the race is now moved into May. Sun has come, and there'll be some fit guys, so they'll be watching Leipheimer. They know this is where he's going to make the move. But for the moment, let's talk about Will Routley, the Jelly Belly rider, 8th in the Tour of Korea. And look in the distance, Paul, that's a bad sight. That's the peloton. So Routley is making a last desperate dash for home.
Yeah, just Phil, it's his 27th birthday this weekend, so he's maybe looking for an early birthday present. And he's another one of those great riders who've moved across from mountain biking to the road side of the sport. In fact, he participated in the World Mountain Bike Championships on 3 occasions, in 2001 to 2003.
Well, I'll tell you what, those jelly beans obviously worked, because he's jumped out of that bunch, and now he's heading for the top of the climb by himself. It's an awful long way to the top yet, though, but he's really putting his head down. And if nothing else, he's giving his sponsor the due desserts after putting 11 years into the world of cycling. 35 seconds the gap now. That is nothing, but the boys might want to slow it down, because now they're getting this close. It's who's going to make the final move to shut it down.
Well, this is really a move that will just prolong the agony, I have to say, for Will Routley, Phil. He's left his 4 companions just behind by about 50 to 60 yards, and he's just trying to survive a little bit longer. But he must realize in the back of his mind, in his heart of hearts, that he's going to get caught once they start Bonny Doon, because I have to say that climb, when he turns left onto it, is going to rail up in front of him like the big man with the hammer.
Now, as we started this race, by the way, there's a brand new film coming out around the United States called Chasing Legend. It's based on last year's Tour de France. We saw the premiere with a lot of the riders, and it is a really good film. And they're hoping to premiere it in the UK in October this year. And so watch out for it going on general release as well there. But if you ever get the chance to see Chasing Legend, do see it. It's a pretty good film. These boys all had the pleasure of watching it the day before they started the Amgen Tour of California back in Sacramento. It's being shown at every stage town on the way, by the way, when the riders appear over the finishing line. So check out on the local cinemas if you happen to live on this beautiful piece of coastline, all the way down to the Thousand Oaks, where we'll finish on Sunday. Well, you saw the whole picture just for a moment there of the Amgen Tour of California 1, 4 and the peloton. Still Radio Shack, a new team this year in their red and grey, with their man Lance Armstrong here to help Levi Leipheimer on this occasion. It might be turned around when they go to the Tour de France in July, who knows.
Well, we're not too far away now, Phil, from the start of Bonny Doon. I would say 7 or 8 kilometers to go, and that's why we've got a big acceleration on the front end of the main field, trying to pull everybody finally back into the fold. The race has been dominated by an early breakaway of 5 riders. Will Routley decided to leave everybody behind and try and prolong the agony and try and get himself a little lone lead before he gets to the start of the climb.
Well, I was saying 45 seconds on the screen. It's actually come down on race radio a little bit less than that now. Now look at that. They're all fanning out across the road now, deciding who is going to make the next move and close down the agony of those 5 leaders. We'll have all of the answers when we come back, I guess. So don't forget, the Amgen Tour of California will continue tomorrow as we move on to stage 4. Live coverage coming to you at 5 Eastern and 4 Central Time as we go on to another tough day as we head towards Modesto tomorrow. Will we have a new leader? We won't be able to give you that fact until we get down to Santa Cruz, but all the indications are we're going to have a great battle on the road to Santa Cruz today. And there's the reason for it. Lance Armstrong and his Radio Shack team. The one man we're not seeing is Levi Leipheimer, protected, waiting, to be launched on the climb of Bonny Doon. There are only 2 riders left out front now. They've just picked up Eric Boye and David Frattini and Ryan Anderson. Will Routley is still up the road, but he's on his own. Andy Jacquemains is trying to stay away as well, riding alone, but I don't think he's got a chance now, as virtually they are all together. We will shortly swing away from the beauty of the Pacific coastline and head into the hills once more today. So as we continue to look here at what is a fantastic piece of teamwork now by Team Radio Shack, another team on the block led by Dave Zabriskie, is also likely to challenge now. There's the man with the little board. P isn't for Phil, by the way, it's for Peloton. And this is the leader here. Well, let's have a look then at our Michelob Ultra athlete profile. The man we're choosing today is Dave Zabriskie.
Living in California, it's great. I could train every day there. The roads are some of the best roads I've ever experienced in my life. I realize that the sun makes me truly a happy person. So that's, you know, sun shines, I'm happy riding my bike.
Zabriskie, you know, proved this year that he can handle the pressure of being a leader day to day.
David Zabriskie, Garmin Slipstream.
I think he's a rider that has a lot of untapped potential, and when he won Missouri, you could see that he's finally got the ambition to realize that potential.
Yeah, for sure, I'm going for California again. It's nice to be second place, but obviously first place is better, a little more rewarding. If you're winning all the time, that's nice, but where do you go from there?
He's proven in the past that he can climb with the best riders in cycling. Also, for the first time in Dave's career, he completed 2 Grand Tours and then rode all the way to the end of the season. So to me, I think that that's going to set up a very good platform for performing at an extremely high level in 2010.
California is a little later in the season, so I think it's going to be a harder race than it has been in the past. And then obviously it falls in a good spot on the schedule, middle of May, so hopefully it'll be really good there and hold some form in June and then even better in July.
Yes, the Michelob Ultra athlete profile, Dave Zabriskie there. Yes, he's finished twice second in this event, the first edition in 06 and just last year, and he is a man who really wants to win this event, and he didn't make a mistake yesterday. He was in that leading group, so he's poised. Who knows, as we get closer to Bonny Doon, whether he will be able to go with him. There he is in the peloton, wearing number 61 today. Second last year, second in the first event that we had when Floyd Landis was the winner. He wants the #1 spot, and indications are, well, hey, he told us the sun's out, he's a happy boy, so we'll see how he goes today. Let's see, they stopped the freight train down there because we are approaching a level crossing. Looks like they're holding that train for the race. Now look at this, Dave Zabriskie's boys have just been sent to the front to do something about it, so that was a good cue, wasn't it? Well, just looking on the right there, it looks as though they're holding the freight train, Paul, because we're approaching a level crossing here, or passage niveau, and the peloton have changed colour at the front. Garmin transitions for Dave Zabriskie, or is it Tommy D, have now gone to the front.
Well, that's the best way to rattle the foundations of Radio Shack. That was Steve Kozza on the front there, and he is obviously trying to set up Tommy D and Dave Zabriskie. They scuttled up the outside a few moments ago. They're trying to look at that beautiful cove down there, and I think a lot of these riders would like to take a little bit of time out to get down there and just sample that ocean, but that's not going to happen because just around the corner we're going to line up for Bonny Doon.
Well, you lucky people watching the transmission in high definition would have got the full benefit of that delightful shot. Well, at the moment, Will Routley, the sole survivor of the 5 men who broke away after 35 miles, is about to be picked up some 23 miles from the finish. We've made the left turn. Goodbye to the railroad tracks and hello to the start of the climb of Bonny Doon. And that was why Garmin, that was a very wide. Who's gone behind the hedge there?
There's a couple of riders went off. They came around that corner so fast, and one or two riders, they feel it's like a race to the finish here. Everybody wants to be at the front end of the pack. They want to start this climb. That looks like it was an HTC Columbia rider.
It was TJ Van Garderen, the youngster on the squad who went off the road there.
Well, there's a couple of riders went off, and they certainly took. Let's have a look at it one more time. In fact, there was a rider right at the front end, and that was probably one of the riders from Garmin Slipstream, but a little bit further back. You can see the panic now starting to set in. I think that is Van Garderen, who's the second rider to go into the ditch.
Well, all action now because everybody wants to be first onto Bonny Doon. Well, look at that then. This is now the breakaway for the final catch. So as they continue now, a little bit before the actual climb starts to bite here, but you saw the action there. They've just wiped out the last leader on the climb. Poor old Will Routley is now going to have to survive on Bonny Doon. We'll take a break. Rejoin us as the climb starts to bite.
It's pretty steep. Definitely an explosive, steep climb.
Welcome to Bonny Doon on day 3 of the Amgen Tour of California, brought to you today by Home Depot. This is the climb. There's the statistics. Second category. Hit the top. 15 miles left to race. 2,100 feet or 651 meters. And it is 7.4 kilometers long. You've missed nothing during the commercial break, but the big boys are fired and the split is coming with the strong men. Look at this gap now. Look at that, Paul. There is the gap right now, and it is the Radio Shack boys. They have really broken this field up with a tremendous fast start to the climb.
Watch for Mick Rogers here. He's seen the acceleration coming from Levi Leipheimer, and he rides across that gap very easily indeed onto the wheel of the American. Leipheimer looks over his shoulder. That's Dave Zabriskie in the orange helmet there of Team Garmin Transitions. Getting left behind a little bit, Armstrong and Chris Horner. And just on the back, I think that's Rory Sutherland.
Now, let's have a look at this and see who is trying to follow this. This is Rory Sutherland. You're absolutely right. The Australians having a great season, and Rory's not going to miss this break. He's quickly nipped around the Radio Shack riders. So Leipheimer has made his move as we expected, but he did check back to see who was going to try and go with him before he made it. And this is an interesting gap. Now, this is a long climb of just over 12 kilometers or 7.4 miles. Takes them up to around 600 feet. Now, this looks like it could. This is last year's podium because Leipheimer, Rogers and Zabriskie, that's how it all finished a year ago.
Well, these are the strong boys. These are the boys who, before the start of this race, Phil said they wanted to win this. Mick Rogers is getting onto the wheel of Leipheimer, and it's Rory Sutherland behind there who's been left to all of the work to done. Here is the Amgen race leader at the start of the day, Brett Lancaster. I'm not quite sure where he is, but he doesn't look as if he's in an ideal situation. He's been really put onto the defensive now.
A bit surprised, but this looks like he's in a split group here, and he's not contributing to the chase, so he's taking this one a little bit hard. Number 151 there is David Veilleux of Canada on the Kelly Benefits. These boys are in all sorts of bother. Chris Butler here on BMC, the American. This is splitting up already into small groups. They hit it so fast, didn't they?
Well, Popovic slipping back there, making our way through the main field here. This is a chance to see another one of the riders there. It looks as if that was TJ Van Garderen, the young rider from HTC Columbia, slipping back. But the three heads of state are giving us a serious demonstration of strength here at the moment. But it's Leipheimer. He hasn't got any He's not had any help at all from Mick Rogers and Zabriskie, but once they get over the top of the climb, I think these three riders, Phil, will start to work together.
Three great riders, three big names, one from Australia, two from the United States, but the man missing is Andy Schleck. He was perfectly poised to join these boys, and look at the gap, he hasn't come.
He hasn't come at all. He just wasn't able to follow the acceleration, first of all, of Jaroslav Popovic, who set this move up, and then, of course, the hammer was put down by number 4 there, Chris Horner, shadowed by Lance Armstrong. Here they're in the company of Rory Sutherland, the leader of United Healthcare, and he now has just got to try and make sure he can limit his losses.
George Hincapie here, but not too sure where our cameras are finding these guys at the moment. They're just running up and down the side of the mountain. The big name, though, is Andy Schleck. Hasn't gone across for the move, and no doubt Leipheimer will have noted that. Rory Sutherland doing a great ride, but totally handicapped with 2 riders from Radio Shack. They're not going to help him go up towards those 3 leaders. So last year's podium at the moment is looking in the prime estate spot.
Well, now you can understand why these guys were riding so hard along Highway 1, Phil, to get to the bottom of Bonny Doon, because they knew they were going to set themselves up for the first major challenge of the race this year. Leipheimer now being relayed there by, I think, Mick Rogers. Zabriskie just getting onto the back there. Now here's a little group starting to form a little further back. In fact, the group with Armstrong and Horner is starting to swell. That would be Tommy Danielson in this group and Ryder Heyerdahl. Those are the riders from Garmin Transitions. Now they must be wondering, what should we do here, guys? Because we've got our man in the breakaway, but is he isolated? Do we need to chase down and get back together with him?
I don't think they dare risk that just at the moment, because these boys, there's more days to come in this race, and this would be a big move for them. They're saying there the yellow jersey is a minute behind, so timing the yellow jersey. Here is Andy Schleck. Now let's find out exactly where he is on the race here. We need the camera to swing out and give us a white. He's not in a good position at all.
No, I think these riders have been caught out by the viciousness of the ride along Highway 1, then all of a sudden the acceleration at the start of Bonny Doon, which once again is living up to its reputation. The yellow jersey at the moment we're being given the information is 1 minute behind the lead group of 3 riders.
Yep. 30 kilometers, that's about 19 miles from the finishing line in Santa Cruz here. They've got to climb up 13 kilometers as well on this mountain itself. And these are the leaders. The move came from Leipheimer. We predicted it, as everybody would have done, because this is where he won the Tour last year, by going to the breakaway and dropping them. Only Tom Peterson could stay with him. Peterson got the day, and Leipheimer got the maillot jaune. And he's the man who nobody's helping him. He's still got to do it all himself.
Yeah, maybe a nice time just to tell you the story about Team Radio Shack and the bikes that they're riding in the Amgen Tour of California this year. Every one of the bikes has got a name on it, Phil, but it's not actually the rider's name. It's the name of a cancer survivor, and that's what they're doing throughout the whole of the Amgen Tour of California. At the moment, they're doing an excellent job. They've got 40 seconds advantage to this group. The only rider from Saxo Bank who's managed to get into there, you can see, in fact, is Jens Voigt. But look at the way this group is being challenged now by everybody else.
Now, this is a determined move here by Cervello here. Lance has jumped onto his back wheel. I haven't quite got who it is at the moment, but the idea is to try and bring the yellow jersey back into the action. And they've got to keep on doing it when they get a chance here. We've gone back to the leaders. Number 11 is Michael Rogers, who's having a terrific season. And just look at the crowds. This is the cycling area, by the way. These boys left Santa Cruz this morning to ride up to the top of the climb to watch the riders go through. Now they're continuing, and Cervello just trying to bring this race back into being for the yellow jersey of Brett Lancaster.
The rider Heyerdahl is the rider from Garmin Transitions there in 3rd position. They're formerly an incredibly good mountain bike rider, and he's had a very good early part of his season as well, with a 2nd place finish in the Flèche Wallonne. Armstrong, I have to say, for a man who's trying to ask himself the questions, Phil, of how good he is, I think he's showing there by the way that he's pedaling that he's got a fairly fine pair of legs on him.
He is actually riding extremely well at the moment. His job is done at the moment. He's got Leipheimer into the lead. He's now going to try and box with these people as best he can, but he's marking them, which means he's feeling good just now, Armstrong.
No, he is. He's actually doing the job of work for the team. The white jersey is on the shoulders there of Peter Sagan, 2nd on the stage yesterday, rides for Liquigas. 20 years of age, this guy. He's had 3 victories so far this season, 2 of them in the Paris-Nice race and 1 in the Tour of Romandy. But this is the man who has won the Amgen Tour on 3 occasions previously. Defending champion Levi Leipheimer hails from Santa Rosa nowadays, and he makes this race look so easy.
I must say that Leipheimer's wife Odessa is watching these pictures. She'll be jumping with joy down in Santa Cruz, I would think, with mum and dad-in-law at the moment. As we're looking at 18 miles to go here. There's the face of David Zabriskie, all going well for Big Dave. 2 second places for him. Michael Rogers was third last year. The winner was Leipheimer. The podium just went out and left the rest behind at the moment. Now this is the attack by that rider from Sevilla. He's either João Correa, the Portuguese rider, or it's Phil Dignan, possibly the Irish rider, because he's a small guy and he just can't quite see his face at the moment, but it could well be Dignan here. And he's certainly done a very strong piece of riding too. They're not away yet, but it looks as though they might be soon, because Michael Rogers is putting some shoulder into the chase. Now we'll take a quick break. We won't miss too much. Come back soon. We're back with the third day of the Amgen Tour of California, brought to us by Home Depot, and we're looking at the same three leaders here, and they're beginning to make steady progress. Now the only man I haven't seen really putting his back into this is the third rider, Dave Zabriskie. Because now we do have Michael Rogers, the boy from Canberra, Australia, rides for the American setup HTC Columbia, and they're based, don't forget, in St. Luis Obispo, which is here in California. Now it's getting quite a select little group here. The boys, the strength is rejoining. The three that got away, they look as though they're being swept up here by this group, which is settling down nicely now. This could be it's about just under 5 kilometers, 2.5 miles to the summit of the climb at the moment, and it looks as though we have a very select little bunch of riders here now.
Well, the Radio Shack, Phil, and Garmin Transitions have got this locked down. They've got the chance of having a lot of riders in that lead group. They're shutting it down all of the time. Tommy D, I have to say, Tommy Danielson from Durango, Colorado, is doing an excellent job while we scoot up the road with the magic of television to see the three leaders. Leipheimer, he's all over this climb this afternoon. He knows this is a day when they can put the hammer down and start to get a stranglehold on the Amgen Tour of California. Zabriskie looks very good. He's now participating in the pacemaking at the front end of the main field.
Well, this was a big marked off move, a big tick on the paper of Levi Leipheimer. This is where he wanted to make his move, and he's gone. The boys knew it was going to come, and they couldn't do anything about it when it came, but they are reorganizing themselves, and it is quite a reasonably sized group here. I'm a little bit surprised to find that Brett Lancaster didn't make this split, but the race leader's gone, so we're off in search of a new leader tonight in the Amgen Tour of California. He won't get back. I think he must be approaching 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes back of the leader now.
Well, Garmin and Radio Shack, they've got exactly the right riders they want in that lead group. Garmin have got Dave Zabriskie up there, Radio Shack have got Levi Leipheimer up there, and everyone else now is turning out to be a prisoner of the pack. And these one-off little scurries like this by Hausler, by other riders in the group, Phil, is not the way to pull back a breakaway like that. They need to have a quick chat to each other and start to get themselves an organised chase if they want to have any chance at all of bringing these three back.
Well, the way it stands at the moment, Leipheimer with his 10 seconds deficit, and David Zabriskie with his 10 seconds deficit, and Michael Rogers, they're all 10 seconds back. It is going to go down to who would win when we get down.
There's a crash in the middle.
That was a touch of wheels right at the most important place of the race. Now, where's the camera gone? I can't see anybody on the floor now.
I'm not sure who went down there, but there's Peter Sagan is getting pushed back into the race by his teammates.
Yes, Sagan's the best young rider there in the Rabobank white jersey. Just have a look, and sort of the one rider fell down there in the middle of the bunch. It was sort of a... I think it was Sagan who fell there, Paul. He got up.
The fact that he was at the back there with his with a teammate pushing him back into the race would give me an indication that it was probably Sagan who went down there.
Yeah, I think he hit that yellow line in the centre of the road, but he got up before we could even see him on the floor, to be honest.
Now, this is very clever now, because these guys now are being lulled. Let's have a look at that one more time again. There you can see he was just actually touched the back wheel of Heinrich Hausler there. That was not Hausler's fault at all. Young rider, don't forget, Sagan is just 20 years of age, probably a little bit nervous at this point of the game, and just trying. He probably thought that Hausler was going to make another move.
Sign that man up for the winter sport of cycle across the way. He jumped back on his bike.
Absolutely, but right now the guys from Radio Shack and Garmin Transition are slowing this down. They're starting to put everybody to sleep nice and carefully. They're setting a tempo at the front end of the main field, which is probably just a little bit too difficult to eat into the advantage, but it's discouraging anybody else from organising a chase.
Right, well, somebody's going to have to make a counter move, but you see you've got three of the top teams represented by three riders up there. Leaky Gas are the big losers out here, and Peter Sagan, who we saw fall down, he got up very, very quickly, but He is still the best young rider. The three boys up front, they're past the best young rider qualifying period. They're not affecting him at the moment, so he might keep his white jersey, but I think he had secret ambitions of getting the yellow. At the moment, they're running away.
Well, he did. He was second overall at the start of the day. And this is a little move by Mickey Rogers there, just testing the waters a fraction. I have to say, you know, Rogers is coming back to the way he was a number of years ago, Phil, because although he didn't quite get the Tour of Romandy, he lost the lead on the final day of racing. I think he's got the legs back that he had about 3 years ago.
The way we cut there with the camera, I thought Leipheimer swung off and wide to find out what Dave Zabriskie is doing. He's not helping at all, and Rogers just put the pressure on a little bit. And Dave Zabriskie stayed exactly where he was, third wheel. And at the moment, he's done nothing to assist those other two in the breakaway. Sooner or later, they're going to start falling out with each other to keep that up.
Well, this group now is swelling. There's a lot of riders recovering and riding themselves back into this group. And again, that gives the advantage to the breakaway because there's a lot of passengers here. It is Leipheimer coming to the front now to try and organize this chase. They know if they can pull that breakaway back, they'll have the overall lead at the end of the day. But this is not the way to do it, sending one man forward at a time. You need to get an organized chase. 2 or 3 riders from one team, 2 or 3 riders from another team. Otherwise, bear in mind that the riders we're looking at the front, the 3 leaders, those are riders, Phil, who've got serious engines.
Well, they could be ranked as the 3 top favourites of the Tour. They've ridden away from the front to a very, very good field. And the big one to disappoint has to be Andy Schleck. He's progressing towards riding a great Tour de France, and there was no sign of a great form on the horizon there because he was right at the front of the bunch when the split happened, and he went the other way. And he's not in this group either, which has swelled a little bit. 1 or 2 riders have come across to this group.
Well, they have recovered. It was down to just a few men, but it's been slowed down a fraction. The gap's not going up very much anymore now. It's up to 1 minute and 15 seconds. Zabriskie's coming to the front, setting the pace.
That's what they'll want to see.
U.S. national time trial champion, a man really aspiring to try and win the Amgen Tour of California this year. The 3 top men that we've talked about before this bike race have come out to play this afternoon on the slopes of Bonny Doon. They did what they had to do yesterday. They got rid of Fabian Cancellara. They were concerned about Cancellara's time trialing ability, but here they've got themselves to the front of the bike ride. They need to start to consolidate on their advantage over everybody else.
Well, the 3 riders who've got away are arguably 3 of the top 4 or 5 time trialers in the world. And there's a big time trial coming up in Los Angeles. If these 3 boys go into Los Angeles, first, second and third, almost on the same time, we are going to be treated to a tremendous time trial in Los Angeles.
Well, once they get to the finish, it's going to make it extremely important for the sprint to the line, because let's not forget they are on exactly the same time, and there's 10, 6 and 4 second time bonuses available for the first 3 riders to cross the finish line. So it's going to be the first man across the line will be the new overall leader of this bike race.
1:15 is what we're saying, but we are hearing from race radio it's stretched out to 1:30 at the moment, so they are pulling away quite rapidly. No one to help the poor guys from Leaky Gas. They're having to do all of the chase now, and the white jersey, yes, by the end of the day will probably still be on the shoulders of Peter Sagan, but he'll be a lot further behind the 3 leaders. Sorry about the bit of picture breakup. The trees are doing that. The cameras will release as soon as they get a clear shot of the sky. There we go. 25 kilometres now, minute 20. We've moved on a little bit overall. There'll be no help now for Leaky Gas. They've just been sent to prison.
Well, they've certainly been sent to prison, but look at that. 4 riders in there from Radio Shack. They came here with an ambition. That was to try and win this bike race for the 4th year in succession. There's Peter Sagan in the white jersey. Just retain that name because he is going to be a star of the future. 3 professional wins to his credit this year, Phil, at 20 years of age.
Yeah, absolutely great start. Nice to see Heinrich Hausler is up here for Cervelo, because he's fighting his way back from sickness, having a poor season so far, but he looks as though he might be straightening himself out a bit now, because this is a good group to be in. As you can see, all of the team cars have been sent up to this group, which means that there's a big split now, and it's not going to come back to these leaders, I don't think. Sadly, Brett Lancaster, the overnight leader, not in this group. We're just a kilometre from the top now, 1,000 metres to climb, and then it's all eyes down for a high-speed charge, heading home to Santa Cruz today. A little bit further south than Leipheimer's home in Santa Rosa, where the riders stayed overnight and where they finished yesterday. But heck, he's still getting the lead if he keeps this up, but he'll have to win. Now, Who would win a sprint? Probably Zabriskie, do you think?
Well, it's a tough one to call because these riders are not really renowned for their sprinting ability. You know, Mick Rogers, since he turned professional, has only ever won 14 races. Zabriskie's won a lot of races, but usually they've come down to being races in the individual time trials. So I'm sorry to say it, I think I'd have to put my money on Leipheimer.
Right, okay, well, Leipheimer's the Californian, but so is Zabriskie. The man that comes from the furthest point is Rogers from Australia. If he turns right here and keeps swimming, he'll make it, though. It'll take a few weeks. And he also rides, don't forget, for the top American team, and for that matter, the world's top team, HTC Columbia. You see, it's all left to leaky gas now, and that gap will surely continue to open. Desperate moments to repair the damage. They had to be able to go with that move when it came, and sadly it didn't happen. This is Brian Van Borg, the top Danish rider on leaky gas, who's trying to help out his young mate in the white Young Riders leaders jersey, and that's Peter Sagan.
Well, we're just getting to the top of the big climb of the day, the one we've been talking about, the 3 climbs in the early part of the course as the riders went over Tonitas Creek and then over California Highway 84, Pescadero. Now it's onto the final meters of Bonny Doon. The leaders are not too far away from the summit of the climb, I'd say around about 200 meters. And here you can see the acceleration of Levi Leipheimer. He now knows they have got to charge down towards the bottom.
So they're leaving it to the man that made the move on the lower slopes, Leipheimer, to be first over the top. Michael Rogers and Dave Zabriskie, the exact podium of 1 year ago when we finished the Amgen Tour of California. 1, 2, 3. They've put the bid in. They watched each other. And I must say, Rogers was alert. He went immediately, and hats off to Zabriskie. A little bit longer, but he got there.
You've got to say a little bit of bad luck for Rory Sutherland, because the Australian from the United Healthcare, he was almost there with the big boys, and he just missed the back seat of the bus as it was moving out of town.
24 kilometres, 15 miles, a minute 30 the gap. This is huge. Now there's a counter move here. Is this Tommy D making a move from the group? I'm not sure where we are with this group.
I'm not sure about the move here by
not a clever move when you've got a man up front, that's for sure.
The young rider from the squad, Peter Stettiner.
Well, Stettiner, you see, has something to gain here. He's sitting second overall in the best young rider competition, and if he can get rid of Sagan by just a second or so, he'd be in the Rabobank white jersey tomorrow, and that might be his short-term thinking. 200 meters for the peloton. That's not a long way just yet. This is what's left of the peloton.
Well, this is the final climb of the day, and it is, as you say, Phil, it's a pretty much undulating downhill charge to the finishing line. This is Hazerdal going over the top.
Well, that's Hazerdal. It doesn't like the same rider we saw. I think Stettiner went back in. We've had a change. Another Garmin rider on the attack now. This is rider Hazerdal now, has decided to give it a go. Bit of a dangerous gamble, this, because if he causes a reaction, he might be chasing down his own teammate. I don't think he'll want to do that. If they come back to him, he'll turn the power off, I would think. Just looking at leaky gas rider here. That was Francisco Kiki at the back of that group. I'm not sure what he was doing there, the sprinter. Anyway, these 3 boys have made the move. They've played the cards. Now they're gambling. Can they get to the finish with a gap more than 10 seconds? I think they'll do that now. And we'll have a new leader tonight. We'll take a break. See you shortly. Everybody can beat Bob Roll. No, I'm only joking. It's not easy to beat Bob Roll. He's a strong boy. Anyway, these are the 3 leaders. They are flying. They've just gone past 20 kilometres or 12 miles to the finish. And now it is not all downhill, but it is very, very fast. They should get through this 20 kilometres in approximately 28 minutes of racing. And they've got time now to bring a lot of riders home to the finish. Now remember, since the gold rush days of 1849, San Francisco's waterfront has bustled. In 1973, the Hyatt Regency San Francisco opened its doors and is now the largest waterfront hotel in the city. It's on the right there. It's across the street from the historic ferry building. The Hyatt sits amidst one of the city's most exciting new destinations, namely the recently rejuvenated Embarcadero waterfront. Now, although one of the city's oldest neighbours, the Embarcadero is now one also of the hottest locales in town. According to the Guinness Book of Records, the largest hotel lobby is in the Hyatt Regency. It measures 350 feet long, 160 feet wide, and 17 stories high. Not bad for a lobby. So there is the leaders deciding what do they do now. The 3 top men have flown. momentarily confusion here. Michael Rogers on the way down, sitting off, keeping an eye on the other two. Funnily enough, Levi Leipheimer is a very, very good descender.
Well, Zabriskie, I know that Johan Brunel always said was one of the most aerodynamic riders in the professional peloton. Now, a lot of these top guys, they spend big money to get themselves into an aerodynamic as position as possible, but Zabriskie is naturally an aerodynamic bike rider. They're putting Mick Rogers into a little bit of bother here as they go down these descents. It's not a very technical descent, this descent of Bonny Doon. It's a fast descent with very big sweeping bends, so you don't have to slow down very much at all.
Oh, don't forget, Mick, it was on a Wednesday in the Tour de France. We called it the Black Australian Day when so many riders crashed out. Stuart O'Grady crashed out, but unfortunately Mick Rogers was also one of those riders who did crash out of the Tour de France rather, and that was on a very tricky descent. But he's back now, and we wouldn't wish him any ill luck whatsoever, because this year, yes, he's only won one race, but he's had 4 major finishes in stage races this year. He finished 6th in Tirreno Adriatico, 2nd in the Criterium International, and 4th in the recently finished Tour of Romandy, where he did hold the overall lead for a couple of days. So he really is build in his mind for the Tour de France. But for HTC Columbia, this is a very important race for these guys. Their hometown.
Well, they're not far away from the hometown of San Luis Obispo, and it's an extremely important event for them to do well in. They've had a bit of success already with Mark Cavendish, but they came with a 2-pronged attack. Mark Cavendish for individual stage glory and Mick Rogers for the overall victory. And Mick Rogers looks to me, I have to say, Phil, as good as he did back in 2007. If he'd got to the end of that stage, he would have been the yellow jersey in the Tour.
That's right. He crashed out when he was the virtual leader of the Tour de France on the road, and big regret in his life. So as we continue to look at the chase here, they don't seem to be able to get themselves organised at the moment. So there's a shot of the finishing line for you. Now remember, cycling fans, head on over to the website amgentourcalifornia.com. You can check out the new Bike Manufacturers Challenge. This is powered by SRAM, and it really is a fantastic competition. You can witness the battles between the constructors of your favourite race bikes. Every stage is a fight to determine whose technologies are smart and tough enough to deliver the 2010 Amgen Tour of California. Plenty to do, plenty of action. The rain is gone, the race is on, the sun is out over Santa Cruz. The stage is set for a 1-2-3 by last year's podium. We'll see you in a moment. Look there, the Sun Guard stage reset. Early attacks getting away as usual at 35 miles. They've all been wiped out on the climb of Bonny Doon, as the sprint winner, the first sprint winner there is Mark Cavendish. Carl Menzies got the second sprint. The mountains were the breakaway, was sharing all the points there. But now we have 3 riders out in front. Leipheimer, Zabriskie and Rogers, the same 3 men who finished this Tour of California last year on the top 3 steps of the podium. But it's not over yet, folks, because this peloton is closing in. Just about a minute the gap now, so they've pulled back half a minute on those 3 riders, and there's still time for them to catch them up. So we're seeing 3 riders out on the gap. Just having a look at the jerseys here are all in this breakaway at the moment. So we're seeing here the whole peloton getting down to it. Now don't forget, for the race conclusion, go to www.amgentourcalifornia.com. We've got to make room for the Montreal Canadiens and the Philadelphia Flyers in the Eastern Conference final game. That'll be coming up shortly. We're looking here at a lot of work being done. They're organising themselves back here at the moment. And this might not be the breakaway of the race because they're closing in. There's a little bit of firepower. Fly V Australia have got themselves up to this group now. They're all beginning to think this breakaway went well on the climb, but it hasn't got clear yet. 55 seconds. This could be a tight finish. Will they get there? They might, but if they do, it'll be by the skin of their racing shorts.
Well, very similar. It was very much, this is turning out very much to be a replay of last year, Phil, because that was exactly the situation. Leipheimer had about 1 minute and 20 seconds advantage when he got to the top of the climb, but when he got down to the finish line, I think he only conserved around about 25 to 30 seconds advantage. But sometimes that's all you need at the end of a one-week bike race. This is big Brian Van Borg on the front from Team Liquigas, a very strong individual time trialist, and now Liquigas all of a sudden are getting themselves organised, and they're getting some help from Cervelo Test Team.
Yes, and also Fly V Australia. So they've got some new teams have come to the front now, which is interesting. So the big teams like Radio Shack, Garmin, they'll go to the back. I don't see too many riders up here from HTC Columbia. The best man is out front, that's for sure. I think the others are all behind the race just now.
There is one other rider in there. That was Lars Bak. I noticed him on a couple of occasions, but he'll take a back seat because he won't want to do anything at all to damage the situation that Mick Rogers has found himself into. But again, that little acceleration in the front there from Team Liquigas has now started to bring it back. Now 45 seconds.
Yes, it's a very good chase, this indeed now. So they're going to feel, if they, once they're told by their managers with their little earpieces that you're gaining, boys, you've knocked off another 5 seconds, they are going to receive a lot of encouragement. There is Santa Cruz basking on a beautiful coastline here of lovely golden sand. That's where we're commentating from. And these boys are heading into town. The season gets underway here in about 10 days in Santa Cruz. So they're welcoming, first of all, the riders coming in on the California, Amgen Tour of California. Leipheimer, Rogers, Zabriskie. There was a moment, it looked to me as though they were on a runaway and they might have got home by 2 minutes. The contrary, it's reversed. It's now 40 seconds. The organisers could be freaking here because they could have a big group racing for the finish. We'll go down the beach road there, then we'll go into the town. Little short climb just to snap the legs, and then a nasty turn to the finish. Here we go as we continue on our way. There's the riders there, the three leaders. Now let me remind you, because of the late running of this race, we have to go to the Montreal Canadiens at the Philadelphia Flyers. They get together in the Eastern Conference Finals game at the top of the hour. They'll be up next. This race won't be finished by the top of the hour, but do go to www.amgentourofcalifornia.com for the conclusion on the internet. Of course, we do have our re-air show for you as well tonight. Trying to fit all the sport into a small pint pot is not all that easy, folks. But this is Levi Leipheimer now. Will they survive? Michael Rogers, Dave Zabriskie, the three riders are heading home. But will they be there, or will there be a bunch right on their heels? We'll take a break. See you in a moment. Well, there they are charging through. The gap is now less than half a minute. Let me remind you, in about 5 minutes time, we'll have to leave the action here in the Amgen Tour of California, but it will continue at the website amgentourofcalifornia.com for the big conclusion, because you must go to the Montreal Canadiens at the Philadelphia Flyers Eastern Conference Finals Game 2, and that will start at the top of the hour. You can see it concluded on the website at the amgentourofcalifornia.com. This is one race now. They are getting closer and closer. 20 seconds, Paul. I take it back. I don't think they are going to survive now, not with 7 kilometres to ride.
Well, there's a number of teams, as you said. Fly V Australia have come to the front, and that's in third place. They're keeping the pressure nice and high. There's Armstrong sitting at the back of the group. Liquigas are doing everything they can now. They realise they've got a very good chance now. If they pull all this back together, Peter Sagan, who started the day in second place overall, will also be looking at the chance of trying to get himself a stage victory, because he is a very rapid finisher. We saw him finish second yesterday.
Yes, we did, and then we've seen him fall today on Bonny Doon as well, but he got up so fast we hardly saw him go down. He was that quick getting back on his bike, and surely they never expected to see these three again. It looked as like they would have had 2 minutes by the finish, but thanks to the hard riding of Liquigas's Brian Van Borg, basically, and then help coming up in the way of Rory Sutherland and Fly V Australia, they pulled it back. 6.4 on the screens, but they are shouting on the race radio they're at 5 kilometres to go.
Well, 5 kilometres to go. Well, I'm just hearing that the rider who had a flat tyre Well, they're saying it's 64. Now, that's Robbie Hunter. Now, if Robbie Hunter's in that group, that would be a bit of a surprise.
Well, he isn't now. He's had a flat tyre.
Well, they're saying he's coming back into the fold.
Well, there we are. Well, that is a terrific ride by Robbie, I have to say. But he is a good climber, Paul. He has ridden some of the high mounts of the Tour up with the leaders. He's not just a pure sprinter. So if Hunter is coming back, he's firing today, the adrenaline bringing him back to the group. We assumed it was Ryder Hagedal because he was in that group, but we never saw Robbie. Now, this is where we swing on to the main beach front. We've got a couple of kilometres of tailwind here, and they'll see each other. And look at that, as we start to line up on the shoulder of the Pacific Highway. We are charging into Santa Cruz, but this is not the end of the problems. We have a little hill as we leave the beach road, and then we come back down towards the finish over the tram tracks. There we are, 4 kilometres to go, so ignore what's on the screens now, because these boys are closer than you think.
Well, Zabriskie's putting a big turn in now. They've stretched it out to 25 seconds. It really is going to be touch and go. The main field behind her, what's left of the main field, have really got to keep the hammer down. They daren't pause at any moment now, because if they do, the show will be stolen by those 3 men at the front. Mick Rogers backing off a fraction, but you can see that big long line there, getting themselves organised still. 25 seconds at 4 kilometres to go. This is a cliffhanger.
Well, we're also hearing that one of the leaky gas riders have just punctured in that chase group, so some firepower will have gone out. Now, that is bad luck indeed. They're all inside 4 kilometres to go now. The quarry is in sight, but will they survive? Zabriskie, one of the world's best time trialists, a silver medalist at world level, the 3-time world time trial champion on the left of our picture. Leipheimer has medalled. These boys are hanging in.
Well, Leipheimer's got himself an Olympic medal in the individual time trial as well, but at the moment, they've just got to keep going. They've got to keep working together. There's no point at this time slowing down and trying to think about the stage victory. It looks to me, Phil, now, as we look there, as if they've still got enough chance to survive there. That group is starting to swell across the roads. All of the work now is being done by Cervelo test team, and Liquigas, because I think they lost that man to the flat tyre, have lost their little bit of firepower.
They lost their strong man with a flat tyre. How unjust is that? But he's still got this little hill. It'll be in the favour of Leipheimer. Can he leapfrog to victory as we run in? So these are the riders now as they continue towards the finish. Now let me again remind you, for the conclusion you'll have to go to the website, to amgentourofcalifornia.com, because we must leave this race on the top of the hour. So be ready to switch over. Maybe it's a good time to do it right now as we get towards the last 2.5 kilometres of the race. There's the information for you, amgentourofcalifornia.com. Of course, we'll bring you all the action in our special re-air program later on, but we will be leaving you in the next half a minute as we must go over to the Montreal Canadiens and the Philadelphia Flyers. So these 3 boys are running to the finish like scared rabbits. They're just inside 2 kilometres to go. So we'll say goodbye to you here now on Versus. Please go to amgentourofcalifornia.com for the next 1.5 kilometres of action.
Well, I'll tell you what, Phil, they've just spread out across the road there. Now, that may well be the moment that gives the advantage, the final little advantage, which is all they need for the 3 leaders to survive in their quest to get themselves some time. Number 2, Lance Armstrong, very happy, I think, with his legs here this afternoon, proving that he is on track to ride well in the Tour de France in the month of July, and he may well be on track to defending Levi Leipheimer's attempt to win this bike race 4 times.
Well, Peter Sagan is in the group, but he's the only one now. His teammate Van Borg had a flat tyre when they needed him most. How sad is that? Here's the swing to the left now. We'll cross over some nasty railroad tracks, but they have taped them down and covered them in asphalt as well. And there's a little rise, just enough to hurt him. We're heading for the Kenda 1K sign now. Before we get in the last 150 metres, that climb doesn't look like a great climb, but it is a climb. That's as we go under the Kenda 1K. And these boys are now not just fighting each other, they're fighting to survive, but they are going to make it.
They are going to make it by the skin of their teeth, I would say, this afternoon. They've got under the Kenda 1 kilometre to go, Banner. They've got around about 1 minute and 10 seconds to get to the finish line. There's a little move there at 1 kilometre to go there, and somebody looks like to me as if they were attacking, and I think it was one of the riders from Radio Shack.
Well, it certainly looks as though it was, but here's the sprint. Zabrisky's opening up the sprint now. A little bit of a slow reaction, but he's coming back. Is Levi Leipheimer. Rogers trying to lock onto them all, but lacking just a little bit. And Zabrisky powering those legs up.
Yeah, but Leipheimer's there, Phil. He's got himself into the slipstream. Another sweeping right-hand bend now. Zabrisky has tried to go for a very, very long one. He's got incredible power here this afternoon. He's got the gap on Leipheimer, because if Leipheimer doesn't get into this slipstream, he's going to lose himself the stage this afternoon. He's got to get locked onto Zabrisky now if he wants to win the stage and take the overall lead.
Well, he might know the first man round this left-hand corner will be the winner of the day. It's a very short sprint indeed as they come into sight of the line. It's a very tight bend. I hope they come back. Here they are. Zabrisky's got the lead now. The line is almost here. Michael Rogers is going to kick, but Zabrisky, you see, knew the distance to the line and has snatched it on the line from Michael Rogers and from Levi Leipheimer.
Well, here's the rest coming round now, and they'll also know that they've got to get round that corner in first place. The big acceleration is going as they come up to the line. Is going to be Sagan gets it this time for fourth.
Yes, and that would have been the next Amgen yellow jersey if he had caught up those leaders, but it's going to go onto the shoulders of Michael Rogers, I think. Oh, no, we've got two, no, it must go on Zabrisky. Has he got it? Oh, it's close.
I think Zabrisky's got that.
I think he's got it, and he'll get the race lead because of it. He gets 2 seconds bonus more, so it looks as though Dave Zabrisky is going to get himself the Amgen jersey tonight.
And that's exactly what he was looking for at the start of this race. He said he was nurturing ambitions to try and win this bike race overall, and that was a tightly packed sprint there. Zabrisky led out from about 500 meters. He had the length, strength, and he had the firepower, and Mick Rogers just challenging on the line there. There's a little bit of an early salute there for Zabrisky, but he got it anyway.
Well, he must have rehearsed that sprint. He knew that corner, which was vital for home knowledge here, to make that left turn. Everybody else is in. Armstrong is in that front group as well. So it was virtually a photo finish, but Dave Zabrisky gets the victory. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up. We'll see you on the other side in just a moment. Welcome back to the beautiful beaches here on Beach Road in Santa Cruz. The race is done and dusted on this day, and the big three came out firing, didn't they? Let's have a look now at our Road ID Ride of the Day.
Well, it's got to be to the top boys who really made the race this afternoon. Top three in the overall standings last year. Dave Zabrisky was one of those riders who had the power to join Levi Leipheimer and Michael Rogers, and had the wit to outsprint them down towards the finish line.
And if you think you can predict tomorrow's stage winner, head on over to roadid.com/winner for a chance to win $1,000 and be entered into the grand prize, which is worth a trip to the Tour de France. There are the results of the stage. Zabrisky winning today, same time as the other big two, Rogers and Leipheimer. Only 17 seconds back to Peter Sagan and Rory Sutherland. Heinrich Hausler and a big group here, including Chris Horner and Ryder Hesjedal. Let's get out to the podium then. And this is where we see Dave Zabrisky pull on the race leader's jersey, the third leader in as many days.
Well, it was the first man to cross the line was going to take the overall lead, Phil, because they came into this stage on exactly the same time. But Zabrisky, with the victory and the time bonuses, gets himself the lead.
Well, let's now have a look at the Home Depot overall standing. It's still a very, very tight race. Michael Rogers is 4 seconds off the lead. Leipheimer just 6. Peter Sagan 21. Mark DeMar of United Healthcare, presented by Maxis, only 24 seconds back. Ryder Hesjedal in 6th place. Rory Sutherland placed today 5th. He's in 8th overall. Top 10 completed by Tom Danielson. Now the breakaway from cancer, and Will Routley today for Jelly Belly. He was voted the most courageous rider, and he was. He was in the breakaway all day. He tried to survive through to the very end. They picked him up as the climb of Bonny Doon began. Well, as we look here at Will Routley, we can now go down to the finishing line, catch it with Bob Roll talking to Dave Zabrisky.
It seemed like you let it out for quite a long ways. How was that holding on to the very end?
Yeah, well, I felt good today, so yeah, I didn't know the finish. I didn't know there was turns or any of that, and it was different than last year, I believe. But yeah, it's a great feeling. Yeah, I don't win very many road races, so that's great.
And great to be in the leader's jersey also.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's definitely a lot of racing to go, a lot of hard racing. Yeah, so, but yeah, might as well.
All right, best of luck, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Well done, Dave. That was our Home Depot interview there with Bob Roll conducting. Now, tomorrow, Paul, we're going out on stage number 4.
Well, again, another long day in the saddle for the riders, but changing direction because now they'll be moving from west to east to finish in the town of Modesto. But it's a slightly easier day for the riders out on the course with a couple of climbs in the early part of the stage, but I don't think that'll do too much, Phil, to rock the foundations of the top 3 men in the overall standings. And theoretically, it could well be a nice day for the sprinters.
Well, we'll see if they climb back in. Well, don't forget, we'll be back with you tomorrow on the stage from San Jose to Modesto, live 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2 p.m. over here on the Pacific Coast. And stage 4 will re-air at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's, of course, 8 p.m. Pacific Time. It was a real battle on the roads of California today, and the big 3 podium finishes of a year ago came out fighting. And don't forget, our clothing provided for us by Izod, and go to Versus.com to catch up on all of the interviews and enjoy the Amgen Tour of California with us. For Paul Sherwin, Phil Liggett, Bob Roll and all of the team, it's goodbye for the moment. Goodbye.